So you guys were absolute beasts, and you smashed the like button on the last video where I put MLB players and made them into an NFL team. So today I'm going to be taking NFL players and using them to fill out a Major League Baseball team. And let me tell you, there are some incredible players that actually have like a baseball background. Some guys you probably didn't even know about. I did some research for this one. And I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. The big game is this weekend, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL, is kicking things off with a huge offer. All new customers can get 56-1 odds on either team to win the big game this weekend. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. And if DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state, have no fear. They still got a way for you to get in on the action. Everyone can play for their share of millions of dollars in total prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy football contests. I'm going to be getting in on the action this weekend during the big game. The spread, the over-under, prop bets. Who doesn't love a good prop bet? And we all know that I'm going to be using DraftKings Sportsbook because it's just the best app out there and the best sportsbook out there. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code GiraffeNeckMarc to get 56-1 odds on either team to win the big game. Again, bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins the big game. That's promo code GiraffeNeckMarc at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL. Thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring today's video. All right, so let's start off with this team, and let's just go to the pitching side first. We'll do the hitters next because hitters are more fun. Pitching, though, a lot of really good pitchers that are in the NFL, actually. And first, let's start off with one of the best players in the league, Patrick Mahomes. His dad, also named Pat Mahomes, had a pretty good Major League Baseball career, spent times with a bunch of different teams, pitched for the Mets. That's why you can see Pat Mahomes wearing a Mets jersey every once in a while, so you gotta love that. In high school, he threw a no-hitter as a senior where he struck out 16 batters, and he was from out in Texas, so you know the baseball was legit over there. I mean, he was throwing like mid-90s, I think. He was a Max Prep Athlete of the Year. He was just all around a great athlete. Baseball, basketball, football, he did it all. He was drafted in the 37th round by the Tigers, but he was actually one of the top prospects in that draft class. It's just they knew he was going to Texas Tech to go play football. They didn't want to waste a high pick, but he was one of the top prospects because he was sick as a baseball player. And he actually was a reliever for Texas Tech his freshman and sophomore year. Didn't appear too much, but did get a few appearances here and there. And then he ended up quitting his junior year of college at Texas Tech, of course, to pursue football full time. And now he's one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the league. But Patrick Mahomes, he's definitely going to be a starting pitcher in my rotation. For my next pitcher, not as much info on this guy, but Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, as a quarterback in the NFL, it's still yet to be determined how really good he is. But apparently, he was a huge baseball player when he was in high school and when he was younger. In fact, Jimmy G himself said baseball was his first love as a little kid. Like, that was his sport. That's all he wanted to do. And he was a pretty good pitcher, pitched in high school. Couldn't find too many stats on Jimmy G, though, to find out like how good of a pitcher he actually was. When you start looking at high school stats from years and years later, it's a little more difficult to find. But Jimmy G apparently was quite the good baseball player, but he figured out that he was a much better football player. He, of course, went on to play football at Eastern Illinois University, and now he's in the NFL for the San Francisco 49ers. But in this team, a Major League Baseball team, I'd have him as like maybe my 4 or 5 starter. Next up in my rotation, Cole Comet. Yes, Cole Comet, tight end for the Chicago Bears, was actually a baseball pitcher as far as into college. He was a left-handed pitcher at Notre Dame. He threw 65 innings, had a 4.43 ERA, 66 strikeouts to 28 walks for his career, and he really improved his sophomore season. Like freshman year, he got some good time. Sophomore year, though, he was nasty. Probably one of the better left-handed relievers in all of college baseball that year, and he threw heat. He threw mid-90s, and he was really good. I mean, you can go back and find some like grading and stats on him. He was Illinois Player of the Year in 2017. Fastball, curveball, slider, again, sat mid-90s and like low to mid-80s with those curveballs and sliders. He went to play at Notre Dame, who's become a much better baseball school. He was there, and according to Perfect Game, he was a top 10 pitcher in the state of Illinois for left-handed pitchers. So Cole Comet threw heat, pitched in college, D1 at Notre Dame. He was also considered to maybe be drafted, I believe, at one point, but they ended up passing on him. Yeah, he's going to find his way into my rotation. The 4th starter I'm going to talk about is going to be Hayden Hirst, of course, tight end in the NFL. South Carolina Gamecock, just like myself. He actually was a baseball player first. He sort of kind of pitched. Here's what happened with Hayden Hirst. Pitched a little bit in the minors, but he ended up starting to hit a little bit more because he developed the yips, unfortunately. He was an extremely talented pitcher, had a great arm, drafted 17th round by the Pittsburgh Pirates in 2012, but he legitimately had to quit baseball because of the yips. He said he couldn't throw anymore. He kept hitting the back of the backstop. He was wild. He just had the mental block. It caused him to quit the game. He was torn up about it, apparently cried a lot, had a lot of battles with like depression and stuff, and it's a really sad story, but I'd like to think that Hayden Hirst under my MLB team, we could get this guy pitching again and pitching well. We'd cure him of the yips. We'd get him back in baseball. I'm willing to give him a shot. Hayden Hirst, one of my pitchers. And then the last and final pitcher, Kyle Long. I don't know if you guys know this, but Kyle Long was legitimately a unbelievable baseball player. Like sick, nasty, disgusting, would probably be be the ace on this team. Kyle Long, of course, offensive lineman in the NFL, all pro, dude's a stud. Comes from a family of great football players and athletes. Kristen Howie Long. Well, in high school, he threw 96 miles an hour as a left-handed pitcher, and keep in mind, he was standing at 6'7", 280 pounds as a high schooler, throwing 96 miles an hour. He had a perfect game grade of a perfect 10. He was committed to play at Florida State for baseball. That's how good he was. Full ride, Florida State committed. He was drafted in the 23rd round by the Chicago White Sox in 2008. He's a first-team All-American. I mean, the list goes on and on for Kyle Long. Incredibly talented baseball player, even played first base and of course hit nukes because just look at the size of him. He was a man amongst boys. Kyle Long would be the ace of the staff. You're throwing 96 left-handed like that, just disgusting. He was filthy. Florida State commit. And then I didn't do a bullpen because it's kind of hard to figure out closers here, but there was one guy who I think would definitely be my closer, and that's going to be famous Jameis Winston. Of course, we all know about Jameis for his Florida State Heisman and all the stuff that went on there and being an NFL quarterback, but he was originally a really good baseball player. Drafted by the Texas Rangers in 2012 in the 15th round. Relief pitcher for Florida State, of course, played baseball and football there. He pitched in 60 innings, had a 1.94 ERA, a .912 whip, 52 strikeouts, and 19 walks. Like, he was legitimately a really good pitcher at Florida State. I think he also might have struck out Derek Jeter or got him out in like a spring training exhibition game between Florida State and the Yankees. But here's the craziest thing. He came to Florida State as like a really good outfielder and pitcher. He was the number 2 overall player in the state of Alabama, and he was the number 10 overall outfielder in the entire United States for his high school class for baseball, number 48th overall ranked player in the entire country. He was one of the premier players, a draft prospect. He, as well as Kyle Long, got a perfect 10 out of 10 grade by perfect game, threw in the mid-90s, and was just a sick baseball player overall. So Jameis Winston, he slots in as my closer. Now let's start off with that lineup, the offense. And of course, we gotta start with the captain of the offense, the catcher, and our catcher is gonna be Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, of course, quarterback, leading the Rams into the big game that's happening this weekend. And I feel like we all know this, but let's just keep talking about it. Matt Stafford was Clayton Kershaw's catcher in high school. Yes, Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw on the same team, playing baseball together, and apparently, from everything that Clayton Kershaw said, Matthew Stafford was a fantastic baseball player. Apparently, he could have played college baseball, it's just he was like one of the best college football players in the country, and full ride to Georgia, number 1 overall pick. I mean, I think he ended up picking the right profession, but apparently he was good enough to play college baseball. A fantastic catcher, fantastic all-around player. Clayton Kershaw said, just like you would think, he's the quarterback, he's the captain of the football team. He was the captain of that baseball team, essentially. He was like a QB on the baseball field, leader amongst the entire squad, and Clayton Kershaw said he loved pitching to him. So Matthew Stafford's gonna be the catcher of my team. Also could have been Tom Brady, who was drafted by the Expos as a catcher, fun fact, but Tom Brady retired, so we're not including him. At first base, technically not on a team, but he's not retired yet. We got Robbie, aka Blake Bortles, the boat. Yes, Blake Bortles was another talented baseball player. Played first base and catcher in high school. Played for FTB Mizuno out in Florida. His brother was in the Tigers organization for a bit, up until 2019. Came from a family of baseball players, and apparently Blake Bortles had a beautiful left-handed stroke with a lot of power behind it. So I love the idea of having the boat locked down at first base. Yes, I know he's gonna have a good arm and we're wasting it at first, but I don't care. Swing that left-handed bat for some power, play first base for me, give me the boat at first. At second base, Russell Wilson. You guys probably know this well. He, of course, had a little bit of a baseball career before he really got into professional football. Drafted in the 4th round by the Rockies in 2010 out of NC State, where he had a pretty good college career. At NC State, he hit 282 and had a 385 on base percentage, playing second base and shortstop for them. He even pitched a little bit. In the minors, 93 games, 5 homers, 9 doubles, 8 triples, and 19 stolen bases, hitting 229 with a 355 on base. I mean, on base king. We love that for Russell Wilson. 356 slugging and a 710 OPS in his 2 seasons. He got all the way up to high A ball with the Rockies organization and eventually did get traded to the Yankees, and I think they technically still have the rights to him if he ever does decide to play baseball. He's played a little bit of spring training with them in the past, and while he hasn't had the most success at playing baseball, he definitely picked the right sport in football. It is still pretty cool that Russell Wilson actually did play professional baseball at the minor league level and was a 4th round pick. That's no joke. Granted, it was the Rockies organization. We know they're not the smartest, but Russell Wilson, oh, he could play second base for me in this NFL MLB team. At third base, I couldn't really find an NFL player that had third base like practice. Kind of hard to find this information a lot of the times, but I think Josh Allen would be a pretty good third baseman. Now, of course, he's a little bit bigger, but he's got a rocket arm. He looks good in shorts, and I mean, he'd probably wear the high socks, so that's basically like shorts. He's got big hands, so scooping up balls, he's gonna be a vacuum at third base. Cannon of an arm. We've seen him on the rollout. We've seen how agile he is on his feet and being able to throw on the run. I mean, I'm imagining some Nolan Arenado, Manny Machado plays in the hole, backhand, deep jump throw, throwing a strike to first base, being a lockdown third baseman with the glove, and I'm sure he can hit. I mean, he can definitely make the plays defensively. He's a big guy. We saw him throw out the first pitch at a Blue Jays game. It wasn't the greatest, so I left him off the pitching side, but at third base, on the run, throwing, I think Josh Allen can make a really good third baseman for me. Now, in terms of shortstop, of course, there's a lot of great athletes in the NFL that I think could make great shortstops. But there's actually a guy in the NFL who played shortstop and at a really high level, and that's going to be Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields was no slouch at baseball. He was the 7th ranked shortstop in the state of Georgia, and for those of you who maybe don't understand the geographic importance of being from the state of Georgia with baseball, it's a hotbed. You start talking about the southeast of the United States, and you're talking about the best baseball players in the country, typically, outside of like Texas and California. Justin Fields, 7th ranked shortstop. That's the best position, basically, when you talk about high school players. He could play. He was the number 44th shortstop in the entire United States, top 250 player in high school, and he played for Team Elite, which is like one of the best club AAU baseball teams in the country. He was extremely fast, extremely athletic, as you could imagine. Having seen him play for the Chicago Bears and at Ohio State, he moves well. He has a cannon of an arm. He threw 85 from shortstop as a high schooler. Like, that's a really, really strong arm to have for a kid at 18 years old throwing a baseball from short. He was a guy who probably could have had a little bit of a career in the minors if he gave it a shot. Seemed like he was a draftable player. It's just, you know, everyone knew he was going to play football. He was one of the top, if not the top college recruits, I think, that year. I just remember always the hype around Justin Fields. He was supposed to go to Georgia originally, then transferred to Ohio State. Extremely talented, extremely good baseball player, especially in the state of Georgia where the competition is the best. I like Justin Fields being my shortstop on this team. It feels like a really, really good guy to have there. And then for this outfield's fun. We're getting a start off in left field, and I'm gonna go with AJ Brown. Do you guys know that AJ Brown was a sick baseball player? There was a clip going around Twitter the last few days of him taking swings now, but even before, he was disgusting when he was in high school. Like, he looks like he could probably hit 40 home runs in the majors now, and that's because he was great back then. He was the number 1 ranked outfielder in the state of Mississippi, according to Perfect Game during his year. He was the 9th overall player in the state of Mississippi, taken in the 19th round by the San Diego Padres in 2016, and he's one of the few players to play in both the Under Armour All-American football game and baseball game in the same year. Yes, he did it also with Kyler Murray, who was in those games. AJ Brown, Under Armour All-American for baseball, extremely talented, and in fact, he was committed to play baseball at the University of Ole Miss along with football. Didn't really do too much of the playing baseball side, but if you watch this guy play, and AJ Brown is a talented baseball player, and I would love to see AJ Brown give it a real shot, because I think that this guy could be really good. Scouts said that he had the capability to be a very, very solid Major League Baseball player. I'd love to see it happen. In center field, I went with a guy that has no baseball experience. I could have picked a guy like Shaq Thompson, who technically played in the minors, had like 39 at-bats for the Red Sox down there, but I instead went in a little unconventional route. I went with Tyreek Hill in center field, and here's why. You want to talk about a guy like Byron Buxton, who just doesn't let any balls drop? Tyreek Hill, he's just like unbelievably fast. He's got the nickname Cheetah for a reason. When this guy gets running, which by the way, doesn't take too long, and that's in football pads and helmet, he's lightning fast. It looks like he's holding turbo. I would love to see him track down balls in center field, make diving catches. He's one of the best athletes in the NFL, and when we're talking about sprint speed and closing speed, I mean, he would probably have the best in the league, right? I know I could have picked like a safety because, of course, tracking down, ball hawking, but Tyreek Hill's sheer speed alone, I think, would make up for any shortcomings that he would have as a baseball player, and I would let the guy bunt every single time. Of course, chicks dig the long ball, but Tyreek Hill bunting, I really don't know how you're gonna throw him out. He's going to be the fastest player in the MLB without a doubt. If he got into it right now, he would be by and large the fastest player. Watch this guy run with pads on and then think, oh, if we take off a few pounds, he's probably even faster. Tyreek Hill would be scary fun to watch in baseball. Probably like Billy Hamilton, but maybe on steroids. And again, who cares if he can hit? He'll catch every single ball in the outfield. And then for right field, I mentioned him a little bit earlier when I was talking about AJ Brown. We'd go with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, of course, probably one of the most decorated baseball players in the entire video, and probably one of the guys you knew the most. First round pick all the way back in 2018 by the Oakland A's, taken 9th overall. That is a serious pick. The A's used a top 10 pick on Kyler Murray. That's how good he was. He was a very, very good outfielder at the University of Oklahoma. He almost didn't play football over baseball, but of course, we now know that he's with the Arizona Cardinals, although he's been taking all the Cardinals stuff off of Instagram, so maybe a baseball comeback for Kyler? Maybe? Probably not. But he was really good, and he was a talented baseball prospect. Baseball Prospectus had him ranked 101 on their top 100 prospect list, so he was basically right on the fringe back in 2019. He had 10 homers and 13 doubles his last year playing college baseball at the University of Oklahoma, and for his career, he hit 261 with a 381 on base, 466 slugging, and 847 OPS. His college highlights are really good. He was a very, very talented baseball player and would make a great right fielder for me. I would love to see him actually give it a good shot, because again, he is one of the more talented guys on this list in terms of sheer baseball ability. It's only a few years ago that Kyler Murray got drafted. I think that he should lace him up and give it another shot. And then for the last and final position, we have the DH. Of course, pitchers aren't hitting unless it's Kyle Long. And I'm gonna go with Patrick Queen, linebacker of the Baltimore Ravens. I bet you a lot of you guys didn't know this. Patrick Queen, phenomenal baseball player, incredibly good. 4-year starter in high school out in Louisiana. Of course, there's not really perfect game stuff on him, so can't really compare him to some of the other guys on this list, but he was a great hitter. He hit 380 for his high school career. Leadoff hitter, left fielder, so so that's why I put him at DH. He's gonna lead off for us or hit 2 behind Tyreek Hill. And apparently USF and UCF, he was such a good baseball player that they said, we not only want you to play football here, we also want you to play baseball at University of South Florida and Central Florida, which are both pretty good baseball schools. Now, of course, he went to LSU, had a pretty good football career there, but he considered walking on and probably could have made the team there. Now, would he have played much? No. He instead decided to focus more on football, but Patrick Queen was good enough to get scholarships from USF and UCF to play baseball there, and good enough to walk on at LSU, which is one of the premier baseball programs in the country. I had to find a way for him onto this team. DH was the way to do it, because AJ Brown, I want that guy in the outfield. Give me the linebacker at DH. He's strong now. He's probably not as good of an outfielder as he once was. I bet you he could still hit though. And that is my MLB team if it was made up of NFL players. I'd love to know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Give me your thoughts and opinions. Do you think I made a good team? Did I leave anybody off? Let me know. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Do you want to see me do this with other sports? NBA, NHL, soccer? I'll do it all. You just gotta let me know by dropping a like on today's video, as well as subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the content coming at you. Again, baseball lockout, we're getting creative. The last video did extremely well, so big shout out to you guys because it was a lot of fun to make. I really enjoyed making this one, so I hope you enjoyed watching it, and that's where I'm gonna wrap up the video. You guys know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video. This is my most recent upload, so click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video.